ibambisene ne-Go Digital SA Foundation. Siyathemba nizolijabulela lolu hlelo.
Siyabulisa nina bendloveni apha ekhanda kamenza. Siyabulisa matric wethu walonyaka matric 2021. Namhlanje sibheka isifundo se-accounting, stock valuation method under a subtopic or subheading Fifo, first in first out. Into ebaluleke kakhulu laphana ufuna ukwazi ukucalculate i-closing stock by using i-Fifo. Awu-4 ke ama-questions ofuna ukwazi when you come to i-Fifo. There are 4 questions. Sizowaphendula khona manje noma amanye engekho on the question paper but we'll add. There's a question paper ofuneke sibheke la bese siyayiphendula ephambi kwethu. Right, there are 4 questions that you must know if calculator i-Fifo. Eyokuqala question yakhona, calculate the number of units unsold. Calculate the number of units unsold. It's the first question, right? Esibili, calculate the closing stock by using Fifo. Calculate the cost of sales. Calculate the gross profit. Those are the 4 questions of at all times. Calculator. These are the questions, right? 4 questions. Okay, 4 questions for Fifo that you must know. The first one, calculate the number of units unsold. Sometimes they can say not unsold, they say calculate the closing units. Calculate not unsold, the closing units, or but to calculate the on-hand units. On-hand units. It's one and the same thing. Right. Question of color, right? How to answer this question? Very simple. We are saying purchases. Okay, let me use another color. We use rate. We are saying here purchases. Right, as well as sold. You do this, right? You do this. The difference between the purchases and the sold is equal to unsold, right? So the answer is equal to unsold is equal to on hand or closing units. Closing units, right? Sometimes we can start here with an opening balance if the business has been operating for quite some time. So there will be opening units, right? You write the figure of the opening units, only the units, right? Purchases units, record the figure, right? And therefore you can also even less the returns. Let's say maybe there are returns here, right? So we're going to say purchases minus returns, right? So you get that figure there, right? And then here you'll be having the sold, the units of the sales, right? Sometimes you can have carriage on purchases units, carriage on purchases, the units, I'm talking about the units here, right? You put it there, import duty, custom duty. Then the difference between these two right is equal to the units on hand unsold is equal to that. Okay, that's the first question that you can come across if we have to calculate if we are, you are doing Fifo, first in, first out. Okay, then the second question, right? Second question, calculate a closing stock by using Fifo. Question 2, calculate the closing stock using Fifo. Calculate the closing stock by using Fifo. So what you have to do, you must start at the end. Here you must have, you see these units, the unsold units, these units, this one, the answer from here. The units unsold or on hand or closing units is the one that you must put it here. Right? And then you reverse from the end. You're going to do it, right? Then you times by the unit prices. Times by the unit prices. You get the answer. Get the answer. Right, that's how you have to do it. So that is what this is a calculate. This is a closing. This is a closing. This is a closing stock. Right, this is a closing stock using Fifo. And then the third question, I said there are 4 questions. Calculate the cost of sales. Calculate the cost. Okay, let me just do this one on the clean page. Calculate the cost of sales. Calculation of the cost of sales. Calculate. Okay, this is the third one. Calculate the cost of sales. Calculate the cost of sales, right? So you're going to say opening stock. Record the figure of the opening stock. Now we are talking about the values, not the units, the amounts. Plus purchases. Purchases, remember, we have to less the returns. Minus the returns of purchases. Record the figure there. So that is, you can even say this is a net purchase if you like, but we're not going to penalize you if you are saying purchases. And then carriage on purchases. Carriage on purchases. Carriage on purchases. Carriage on purchases, this is transportation. Sometimes they say carriage on purchases or railage or freight or any mode of transport. You can by bus, by train, by airline, by ship. You see, or logistics or freight. You normally see trucks, big trucks written freight or logistics. That is a mode of transportation, right? And then you can have import duty. Import duty. Custom duty. Right. Less stolen. Stolen, if maybe there are any stolen or missing. Right. If there are any stolen or missing. And then also less closing stock. closing stock. Which closing stock are going to less? The one that you calculate from Fifo. You see, this figure that you get it from here, right? From Fifo, right? Is the one that you're going to less it here. Even if it's wrong, this figure here from the Fifo, but for the fact that you know that it has to come here. So now you are getting what? This is the cost of sales. So now this is the cost of sales, right? And then from here, the last question that you must, okay, we said opening stock, add purchases minus the returns, carriage on purchases. You have to be careful again when you come to the carriage on purchases. Sometimes you can be given carriage on sale. Now we don't consider a carriage on sale, we consider a carriage on purchases. Import duty, maybe we are buying goods abroad. Import duty or custom duty, we are buying it beyond our borders. Or maybe there's a stock that was stolen or much less, and then minus the one that you Zulu, your closing stock by. And then the last question will say calculate the gross profit. The gross profit. There are three ways that you can use to calculate a gross profit, right? We can just simply say sales less cost of sales. You can just say sales minus cost of sales is equal to gross profit. Right. So you record the figure of the sales amount minus the cost of sales that you calculated above. This cost of sales here, right? Minus that cost of sales, right? Minus the figure of the cost of sales is equal to a gross profit. You get the gross profit amount, right? Or you can say sales cost of sales. You can write vertical or horizontal. Cost of sales or you can do a T account, trading account, right? You can just say there cost of sales here on the debit side. Why cost of sales on the debit side? Cost of sales is an expense, so it's having a plus on the debit side. Cost of sales. You record the figure, and then the sales. Why are the sales on the credit side? It's an income are increasing on the credit side. Then you record. Now you do this, you balance with the sales figure, assuming that the sales is bigger. Balance, you're saying this one minus this, you get gross profit. Gross profit, or this is profit and loss. Gross profit or profit and loss. Okay, but now let's do the question. Profit and loss. Let's go and do the question. At least I already laid the foundation. You now understand what it's all about. Let's do the question quickly. Let's do the question. Okay, let's go on the question paper. The question is saying, briefly explain the importance of features of each the following. Periodic inventory system. What is a periodic? Okay. Periodic. What is periodic? Periodic occurs whereby we calculate stock on a periodical basis. Right, periodical basis. I'm not sure whether you can see the question paper there, but I think it's there. Okay, we're going to see it now. Right. Let's go now and check. Briefly explain one importance of the following features. So the first one is saying periodic. What is a periodic or periodical? periodic inventory system. Periodic or periodical inventory system. In one word, what is a periodical? Occurs whereby you calculate stock on a periodical basis. Stock is done periodical to calculate the trading stock. Stock is calculated on periodical basis. On periodical basis, e.g. once or twice a year. Number 2, perpetually. We are doing this for the sake of the question. I think we did this before, but I think the question now is also asking, so we cannot just jump. Perpetual inventory system. Right? What is perpetual inventory system? Occurs whereby we calculate stock on a perpetual basis, on daily basis. Right? Stock is calculated on a daily basis. On a daily basis, or daily on continuous or continual. Okay, it can be continual basis. Can be continuous or continual basis. Right? Stocks calculated on, like, going on continual basis. Right? And therefore the third one, Fifo. Others that don't say Fifo, they are saying Fifo. Fifo, valuation, not FIFA, but Fifo. Valuation method. Right, what is Fifo? The stock here, the old stock must be sold first. Right? The old stock must be sold first. Right? Old stock is sold first. Old stock is sold first. Right? Stock valued is based on, okay, that's the old stock is sold first. Final stock is valued at the last price. Okay, if you like, we can say final stock, final stock is valued, or is valued at the last, or at the latest price. Right, so we already calculated the periodic inventory system, the perpetual, the Fifo or FIFO method. Right, now we are going to the last two, weighted average as well as the specific. We're still going to do those ones, but for the sake of the question, because the question iyakufuna lokhu asiphendule. So we have weighted average method. Weighted average method. What is the weighted average method? Very easy, right? We must understand the formula of the weighted average method, right? We are saying the the weighted average cost of a product, okay, the cost of, in fact here you are writing a formula in weights of this of this method. The weighted, the cost of a product is calculated by dividing the total cost of all goods bought by the number of the I'll explain this to you, by the number of items bought each and every time stock is bought. Right. So basically, this method, they are saying it's a formula of the weighted average. The values, opening stock plus purchases, add carriage on purchases, minus the returns, minus the stolen of the stock, add import duty and custom duty, divide by number of units, and then times by units on hand. That is basically the weighted average. And then the last one, but we're still going to cover when we are doing weighted average, not now. Specific identification method. Right, this is the specific identification method. Specific identification method. Right? This method is suitable for the most expensive item. Right? This method is suitable for the most expensive item. Right? This method is suitable for the most expensive. For the most expensive. For the most expensive item. This method is suitable for the most expensive items. And then we are done now with the first party. Let's have a look now at the 2.23.2. Refer to the information above. Calculate the following using the Fifo method. Right. I'm not sure whether the equation paper is going. Okay. Calculate. Refer to the information above. Calculate the following using the specific method. Okay, I'll allow the equation paper so that uzobona kahle mfundi. Yeah, then say beyakhona manje. Yes. There you go. There's a question paper there. Right, angazi noma kuyabonakala kahle yini. But yeah, ngathi kuyabonakala. Right, okay. Okay, let's calculate the closing stock by using Fifo. Right? Refer to the information above. Calculate the following using the closing value of closing stock. It's a closing stock, right? Now it's English. I said there are 4 questions that you must understand. Right? There are 4 questions often you understand it before you calculate this. Right? There are 4 questions. Is 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now it's okay. There you go. The question yokuqala ofuneke we understand nansi mfundi, calculate the number of units unsold. Okay, now 1. Okay, now 1. This is 1. Right, calculate the number of units unsold. Yabona, if ayibuzwa ngale yokuqala then uzobuzwa yesibili nansi. Calculate the closing stock using iFIFO. That's the one abayibuzile njengamanje. Eyesithathu, calculate the cost of sales. Eyesine, calculate the gross profit. For the fact ukuthi le yokuqala abazange bayibuze u1. Ngisho mbo u1 akushongo lapha ukuthi calculate the number of units unsold or closing units or on hand. No, bafune le number 2. So which means simnikeziwe u1 automatically, which means the number of units, the closing units were being given. Okay, let's go and check our closing units. So what is the figure of the closing units in this case? What is the figure of the closing units? The closing units here were given in this case. What is the closing unit? Start up with 5 units, right? Okay, equationity. The information below refer to EQ traders owner Equinta, sorry, for the year ending 28th of February 20.8. The business deals with the power generation, the power generators for the home use. These are generally which switch on automatically when the power outage occurs. So when we are facing load shedding, automatically these generators, they switch on. Quinta import these units from a supplier in China. So these are the import from China. The periodic inventory system is in use as a fixed selling price, maintaining through the year. He used the Fifo method of valuating the stock. Right, as you check lapana, these are the opening units, and then this guy was purchased. He purchased how many units? He purchased 1,400. Okay, so now we are told to let's calculate in the closing stock by using iFIFO. Let's calculate the closing stock by using iFIFO. Right, we are wondering in this case we are in trouble because into enzakalayo asinayo closing units. So which means we have to start getting first the closing units. Then after we get the closing units, then we can calculate a closing stock by using iFIFO. So we are here on number 1, right? Sometimes you'll be given the closing units. If you are not given, it's part of the workings for in that particular question, right? As well as see pendulum. Right, how to calculate the closing units. Opening stock, purchases less the sold is equal to unsold. That is the closing units. Okay, let's do it. Right, siyaphendula ke manje. Calculation of the closing units. Calculation of closing units or unsold or on hand. Right, so what's the formula? Very easy. You have to say purchases is on this side, but your purchases must also include the opening stock. Sold I said to use this method. It's very easy. So it's no opening stock units. We're talking about the units here, not the figures, the units, right? Opening units is 5. So there are 5 units. As now purchases. We purchased, but we are already given the total there, 1,200. There are no returns, there's nothing, right? No returns. Unfortunately, if there were returns, you must minus, carriage, you must add it back, stolen, you must minus. So we are given the sold. Sold unit is 720. So very easy, you do this. Right. So now we are Ithala. So we have 720. So now 5 plus 1,200. It's 1205. 1205 minus 720. Minus 720. You get minus 720. You get 485. 485 is the same as what? Units unsold, as I was showing you here. You get unsold, on hand, or closing. So these are units unsold, closing, on hand. Right. So okay, now we can answer now. We can go now to the calculation. Let me just use another color here. Calculation of the closing stock using Fifo. Calculation of closing stock using Fifo or Fifo. Calculation of closing. Okay, calculation of closing stock using Fifo. Calculation of the closing stock using Fifo. Right. So the price must stop here at 4. Okay, here at 485. We have to reverse from here. 485 from this number there. So that is our closing. So our last purchase is 300. You can see that we are still below than 485. And then the second one, the second last purchase is 500. From 500, if you are saying 500 now, no 800 now, we are so more than this. So which means we need a portion of this to make it 485. So now we are saying 485 minus 300. So which means here we need 185 from this 500. Then minus 500. So which means there will be having 315. So going upwards, it's a stock that needs to be sold first. Going downwards from this 500, it's a closing stock. It's stock of side. Then now you times by the number of units. So you times by the unit price. So the unit price for 500, that split now, it's 820. 820. Here it's 830. Right. So now you have to say 185 times by 820. So you get 1700. 300 times by 830. 249,000. So you are at 151,700. Then you are getting 400,700. So that's an answer. That's a closing stock by using Fifo. That's a closing stock by using Fifo. Normally, this thing is 7 marks. Can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? 7 marks normally. Or even more. Even more than that. But most of the time, it's always 7 marks. That's how you can get the marks. Okay, let's continue answering the question. So now the following question, it's what? It's a gross profit, right? Remember I said in question 3, I said you are calculating what? The cost of sales, right? Cost of sales, right? And then the question 4 will be gross profit. Where's gross profit? Now gross profit. Yeah, what? So now call labasho one and the same thing. So if a gross profit, but that's now in a cost of sales. So which means funeka sibone ukuthi siphuma kanjani ke la, right? Nesibone ukuthi siphuma kanjani ngoba manje asinayo okay. So asicalculate ke lapha nasibone calculation of gross profit. I'm not sure how many minutes left, but I think saying as start is was PCNs. Right? Calculation of gross profit. Calculation of the gross profit. Okay, let's do it. Calculation of the gross profit. How to calculate the gross profit? Right? Though you can start with getting a cost of sales, right? You can start getting the cost of sales first, okay? Or okay, I'll show you in 2 ways, right? So we have to say sales. Okay, calculate the. Okay, let's start from here. I think let's make it easy. Let's just start here. Okay, let's just start here as part of the working. Let's just say calculate of cost of sales. Calculation of the cost of sales. Opening stock. What's the figure of the opening stock? E value is 4,000, right? Purchases. Value of the purchases here, there are no returns. If there are returns, we have to minus returns, right? And then no stolen, no carriage, no import duty, less closing stock. Closing stock, the one that you calculated when we are using Fifo. Okay, let's check what was the figure of the closing stock. The figure of the closing stock, it's here. You can see we put this figure here, 400,700. Then just get that figure down there. So which means we have 4,000 plus 9,700 minus 400,700. Right, this is the cost of sales. This is the cost of sales, right? This is the cost of sales. Now let's go to the calculation of gross profit equation. If a gross profit equation, so kulula ke manje. So it is sales minus cost of sales. Cost of sales is equal to gross profit, EGP, gross profit. Okay, what's the figure for the sales? It's 144,123 minus minus cost of sales. That's the figure of the cost of sales. You take this figure from here, so to come here, cost of sales. Minus 5823, like this. Then you get your answer. Right. So now we are saying 144, 123 minus 5823. You get 4. You get that figure there of. Okay, you get not that figure. You get the answer there of the cost of sales. It's you get that is 857. Sorry, it's 857 7,000. No, 700. Sorry, not 7,000. Yeah, if you minus that too, right? Here, yeah, it's not 8,000 there. Right, that's how you get that figure. So we are done with the calculation of a gross profit by using a Fifo. Right, maybe let me just check how many minutes left, if maybe we can still do another one. Okay, yeah, then there is a theory question. This one is for the weighted average. Okay, I will skip it for now because we are still we'll be doing weighted average shortly, right? I'll skip this one. We'll do it when we are doing weighted average, right? I'll go on the theory one. There's a theory on the last. Yes, they are saying compare the results in 20.3 with 20.3.2. 20.3.2 with 20.3.3. Oh, okay. Okay, now, okay, this one, it's a weighted average. Okay, it's fine. I can do it because the question is there, so I can able to compare at the end there. Okay, I can do it. No problem. Maybe for weighted average, you can take another question. Okay, so that is basically, that's how basically you calculate. That's how you calculate the closing stock by using Fifo mfundi. That's how you calculate the closing stock yakho usebenzisa ini Fifo. Enye into ofuna ukuyazi mfundi nansi, uma kuthiwa define what is Fifo. Don't say first in first out, otherwise there will be no marks. You have to say the stock that is bought in first must be sold first, right? The stock bought in first must be sold first. You must know how to define it. Definer. Okay. Now, the question is average la. Ngoba le question is it want a comparison between the two. Okay. The weighted average is very simple. Let's get a method yakho, right? Because it's on the question now. You see, now method yakho laphan, right? Weighted average method. We said the cost of a product is calculated by dividing the total cost of all goods bought by the number of items bought each and every time the stock is bought. So which means when you numerator yakho, you have to say opening stock plus purchases, import duty, custom duty, carriage on purchases, less any stolen or missing, divide by number of units at the opening plus purchase units less closing and then times by the closing units or on hand or unsold. Therefore uthola i-answer yakho in terms of the units. Yonke efunakalayo lapho. Okay, when you calculate a weighted average method, right? I was saying, if I can take you back to now at the beginning, these are the 4 important questions for the weighted, for the Fifo, right? For the Fifo, verse 3. Very important. This is 1, this is 2, where is 3? Okay, this is 3. Right. So besiyenze i-weighted average. Weighted average izoyenza soon. But for now, ngifuna nje ukuthi ubambe la. Nansi into ebalekile. Question yokuqala nansi. You must know sorry. You must know how to calculate the number of units unsold using closing stock or E on hand. How do you do that? If calling opening stock, we have to say opening stock, opening units, opening stock units. Sometimes you may find that, there's no opening units. The business, which means it's new, we just started. So remember, opening for this year was a closing last year, right? So sometimes it can be just purchases, right? Can be just purchases. So you have to say now, if it's purchases, we have to say purchases plus carriage on purchases, right? Less returns or stolen, right? And then minus sold, right? Minus sold, and therefore you get units on hand, right? Or closing units or unsold. Okay, that's the first thing that is very important that you must understand, in front. Very important, you must understand that part. And then question yesibili elandelayo ofuna you understand futhi nayo nansi. Calculate the closing units by using a Fifo ukuthi siya reverse from the closing units, right? You write the closing units. If sometimes they can give you or not give you. If they're not giving you, you have to calculate by using the first method. If you're already given, you must reverse, as we're doing when you are doing that question. You reverse, you times by the unit price each, and then you get your answer. Right. And then that is the second one. The third one, calculate the cost of sales. Cost of sales. How to calculate the cost of sales? You are using the values, the amounts, the final amounts. You are saying opening stock plus purchases plus carriage on purchases, right? We said carriage on purchases. These are transports, the mode of transport or transportation. It can be carriage, logistics, by bus, by train, by airline, by ship, any mode of transport, plus import duty, plus custom duty, less stolen or missing, less closing stock. You get the cost of sales. You get the cost of sales. You get the cost of sales there. That is basically your answer there. And then the last one, calculate the gross profit. Gross profit here, you have to say sales minus cost of sales is equal to gross profit, right? Or you can just write vertically or horizontally, it's up to you. Then the answer that you get, that you're going to get, it's a cost of sales. Or you can do a trading account. Trading account, you do a T form. On the debit side, you write trading account. On the debit side, you write cost of sales, right? On the credit side, you write sales. It's obvious the figure of the sales will be always greater with the cost of sales. So your difference will be a gross profit or profit and loss on your debit side. That's how basically you calculate the gross profit in fund. Very important. And then noma ngachoba kunezayiphi ke equation manje, equation engahlula if you understand those principles. I gave you the weapons. I also even taught you how to use these weapons. Please make sure that you use these weapons, mfundi, uwasebenzise kahle. Njengoba ubona nje la we are saying sales less cost of sales is equal to gross profit, right? So you put your figures, or you write vertical. We are saying sales less cost of sales is equal to gross profit, or you are using a T account. It's a T account I'm talking about, right? On the debit side, you always write cost of sales. Why cost of sales on the debit side? Cost of sales is an expense. Expense are having a plus on the debit side. You write the sales here. Sales are income. We're assuming that we're selling on cash, right? So the figure here, and then the difference between this cost of sales and the sales is equal to gross profit. So therefore you balance this. You are lessing now here, you get gross profit or profits and loss. Very important, very important. So make sure we are. This is a part of, this is paper 2, grade 11, paper 2 grade 12 accounting. So paper 2 lo funeke wazi ukuthi what goes to paper 2, what also goes to paper 1. Lezinto ufune uzazi lezo mfundi ukuthi yini eya paper 2, yini eya paper 1. So kubekela khona manje before we start the following topic, what goes to paper 2, what goes to paper 1. Very important. And then we'll be also talking about that, so that at least you must be very clear and sober-minded when you come to what makes paper 1 and what makes paper 2. We also even talk about calculation of the cost of sales. We said we have opening stock, right? Add purchases minus returns, carriage on purchases, import duty, right? Custom duty, stolen or missing, right? You must put it in brackets, must minus. And then closing stock, right, is equal to the cost of sales, right, is equal to the cost of sales, is equal to the cost of sales. Okay, and then we have also number 2 that I was showing you, the Fifo. We must reverse from the closing stock. Remember, this is a closing unit. Closing is this one. These are the closing units here. These are closing units, or on hand or unsold, right? Okay, and then you have also purchases ne sold, right? Opening units, purchases, units, carriage on purchases minus the sold is equal to unsold, right? I think isikhathi seseshaya ke manje. So shortly we'll be looking at weighted average method. So make sure that I'm not sure how many minutes are left now then. Okay, yeah, let's make sure that we tune in for weighted average method. But njengoba ngishilo nje mfundi, into ofuneka uyazi laphana, these are the 4 questions, 4 important questions that you must know, because kule 4 le bangakubuza only 2, automatically le 2 le, which means it's part of your workings, or bakubuze only 1, automatically le 3 le is part of your, because these 4 important questions, I develop about this one. It's a build up of the first question. We said the first question, calculate what? Calculate the number of units. Calculate the number of units. Where is it? Where is 1? Okay, here. Right, calculate the number of units. Calculate the number of units of closing stock number of units unsold or closing stock or on hand. You have to say purchases minus the sold, right? And therefore you get your answer there. Okay, so you have to say opening stock, purchases less returns minus the sold. The difference between these two, that's the number of units unsold. Then quickly calculate any closing stock. The closing stock by using a Fifo. The bus must stop here. That's where the bus must stop. The closing units, right? And therefore you reverse to make sure ukuthi le figure le iyona ozokwazi ukuthi uyikhiphe la if usuyi-approve. Njengoba kade besenza la. Angisho yabona la. Look. Angisho yabona what we're doing. We calculated the number of units. So I mean on hand then sathola ukuthi ubani u48. I mean 485, right? 485 we take it here. So which means these are the goods that they have to be retained or on hand. So our last purchase was 300, right? Then the second last purchase was 500. So which means from this 500, if you am add with 300, it's over more than this. So it's over 800. So which means we need a portion of it. So which means we need what? 185. If you are saying 185 plus 300, you get what here? You get 485. You see, and then you time this respectively. You are getting these figures. You are done. You see, you get what now? A closing stock by using a Fifo, right? And then after getting closing stock by using a Fifo, then the question is calculate the cost of sales, right? Calculate the cost of sales. Now, let's look at the question of cost of sales. Right? Calculate the cost of sales. Okay, calculate the cost of sales. We say opening units. I mean opening stock, not units. Sorry. Plus purchases, less closing stock. That's the one. That's the figure that we get from Fifo, right? This one. That's the figure that we managed to get from Fifo. That's the one. Here and here. You see? And then you get, and then calculation of the gross profit, right? The gross profit, sales minus cost of sales is equal to gross profit. And then you are done. Please let's just tune in for the weighted average method. Thanks for now. Can you just go for the break and then we come back for weighted average method. Thank you.
Ningakhohlwa ukuthi nisengathokozela ezinye izifundo eziyisithupha kanye nezengeziwe i-learner wellness, i-career guidance kanye ne-advanced program. Hlanganyela nathi kwizifundo ezi-online ku-068 151 1072 noma ku-GoDigi@godigitalsa.today. Siyabonga.